The quiet leader, why sometimes the best leadership is nearly invisible. I'm going to share with you today some experiences in this blog post. To maintain the privacy of those involved in the experience, I'll write in first person, change some details, and not share if these are my personal examples or if they are examples from someone who shared them with me. So here we go. There's a woman in our office named Carol who doesn't hold any formal leadership position, avoids speaking at council meetings, and rarely speaks up in large meetings. But when our department went through a major reorganization, Carol was the person who quietly made sure everyone felt supported through the transition. When office politics take hold, Carol is the rock, the stable one who keeps her cool and professionalism. Carol practices what I've come to think of as quiet leadership, the kind of leadership that happens behind the scenes, without fanfare or recognition, but that often has the most profound impact on people's lives and organizational success. After nearly 2 decades in public service, I've learned that while we tend to celebrate the visible, charismatic leaders who command attention and drive major initiatives, some of the most effective leadership happens quietly, through consistent small actions that create conditions for others to succeed. This quiet leadership is particularly important in our current world, where social media and instant communication create pressure to be seen, heard, and recognized for every contribution. The quiet leader offers a different model, one that prioritizes service over recognition, influence over attention, and long-term relationship building over immediate results. Leadership without the spotlight. Quiet leadership often goes unnoticed, precisely because it's focused on enabling others' success rather than claiming credit for achievements. These leaders work behind the scenes to remove obstacles, provide support, and create systems that help everyone perform at their best. In my role overseeing both finance and human resources, I've learned that some of my most important leadership work happens in ways that are nearly invisible to the broader organization. When I spend time helping an employee work through a personal challenge, when I adjust processes to reduce stress for my team, when I have private conversations with union leadership to involve them in addressing difficult situations more effectively. This work rarely gets noticed or celebrated, but it creates the foundation for everything else to function well. The power of consistent presence. Quiet leaders understand that influence is often built through consistent presence rather than dramatic gestures. They show up reliably, offer support consistently, and create stability that allows others to take risks and pursue growth opportunities. This consistent presence is particularly valuable during times of change or uncertainty, when organizations are going through transitions, when teams are facing challenges, when individuals are dealing with personal struggles. Quiet leaders provide the steady support that helps everyone else weather the storm. During the early months of the pandemic, a change unlike any most of us have worked through ever, when everyone was adapting to remote work and dealing with unprecedented stress and uncertainty, I noticed that the people who provided the most valuable leadership weren't necessarily those who were making the big policy decisions or giving inspirational speeches. They were the people who were checking in regularly with colleagues, sharing resources and information, and maintaining the personal connections that kept our team functioning as a unit, creating conditions for others' success. Perhaps the most important characteristic of quiet leadership is its focus on creating conditions where others can succeed rather than seeking success for oneself. Quiet leaders derive satisfaction from seeing other people grow, achieve their goals, and receive recognition for their contributions. This approach requires a particular kind of leadership humility, the willingness to invest time and energy in outcomes that others will receive credit for. It means being content with the knowledge that your behind-the-scenes support made a difference, even when that difference isn't publicly recognized. In public works, I see leaders like this all over. Those that mentor relationships with new people entering the field, spending time helping them develop their skills, mentoring on how to navigate the organizational politics, understanding how and why things happen the way they do. Often, these mentors have no title. They just feel the calling or drive to build those relationships and take those new employees under their wing to guide them and help them grow. When those new employees succeed and receive kudos and success, those mentors get genuine satisfaction in knowing they've helped. This investment in others' success creates a multiplier effect that extends far beyond what any individual leader could accomplish on their own. The people who you quietly support and develop become leaders themselves, carrying forward the approaches and the values they learned from your example. The relationship builder. Quiet leaders are often the relationship builders within organizations and communities. The people who know everyone's story, who remember personal details, who connect people with similar interests or complementary skills. They create the social fabric that holds groups together and enables collaboration across different areas and levels. This relationship building happens through countless small interactions, remembering to ask about someone's sick parent, celebrating birthdays and work anniversaries, introducing people who should know each other, facilitating informal conversations that lead to formal collaborations. In our office, Carol is the unofficial keeper of institutional knowledge and relationships. She knows who to call when you need information from another department, which vendors are most reliable, and how to navigate bureaucratic processes efficiently. New employees quickly learn that Carol is an invaluable resource, not because she has a formal authority, but because she has invested years in building relationships and understanding how things really work. This relationship building extends beyond the workplace into community involvement. Quiet leaders are often the people who organize neighborhood gatherings, coordinate volunteer efforts, and maintain the connections that create resilient communities. They may not be the visible faces of these initiatives, but they're often the people doing the background work that makes everything possible. Leading through service. Quiet leadership is fundamentally about service, looking for ways to help others succeed, solve problems, and achieve their goals without expecting recognition or reward. This service orientation creates a different kind of influence than positional authority or charismatic appeal. People follow quiet leaders not because they have to, or because they're inspired by compelling vision, but because they know these leaders genuinely care about their well-being and success. This creates deep loyalty and trust that can be more powerful than any formal authority structure. The challenge of recognition. One of the challenges of quiet leadership is that it often goes unrecognized in organizational systems that reward visible achievement and measurable outcomes. Quiet leaders may be overlooked for promotions or leadership opportunities because their contributions aren't easily quantified or clearly attributed to specific results. This can be frustrating both to quiet leaders themselves and for organizations that may not fully appreciate the value these leaders provide. It requires intentional effort to identify and recognize quiet leadership contributions and to create achievement paths that don't require self-promotion or attention-seeking behavior. As someone in a formal leadership role, I try to be aware of the quiet leaders in our organization and to find ways to acknowledge their contributions, even when they don't seek recognition. This might mean highlighting their work in team meetings, recommending them for professional development opportunities, or simply thanking them privately for their ongoing support and service. Quite often, they don't want the recognition and would prefer not having that recognition handed out publicly. The sustainable approach. Quiet leadership offers a more sustainable approach to influence and impact than leadership styles that require high energy, constant visibility, or dramatic interventions. Because quiet leadership is built on relationships and consistent service rather than charismatic appeal or inspirational vision, It can be maintained over long periods without burnout or exhaustion. This sustainability makes quiet leaders particularly valuable in long-term organizational health and community stability. While visible leaders may come and go, quiet leaders often provide the continuity and institutional knowledge that help organizations weather transitions and maintain their effectiveness over time. Learning to see quiet leadership. Because quiet leadership often happens behind the scenes, it's easy to overlook its importance and impact. Learning to recognize and appreciate quiet leadership requires paying attention to people who consistently contribute without seeking attention, who enable others' success without taking credit, and who maintain the relationships and systems that make everything else possible. In my own leadership development, I've learned to look for the quiet leaders in every group I'm a part of, and to learn from their approaches. What can I learn from Carol's relationship building skills? How can I adopt the consistent presence that characterizes effective, quiet leaders? What would it look like for me to focus more on creating conditions for others' success rather than achieving visible results for myself? The leadership we need. In a world that often seems dominated by loud voices, dramatic gestures, and attention-grabbing behavior, quiet leadership offers a refreshing alternative. It demonstrates that real influence comes from service rather than self-promotion, that sustainable change happens through consistent action rather than inspirational speeches, and that the most important work often happens away from the spotlight. Our families, organizations, and communities desperately need more quiet leaders, people who are willing to do the behind-the-scenes work that makes everything else possible, who find satisfaction in others' success, and who understands that the best leadership is sometimes nearly invisible. The question isn't whether you have the charisma or positional authority to be a visible leader. The question is whether you're willing to serve quietly, support consistently, and invest in others' success without expecting recognition in return. That kind of leadership is available to everyone, needed everywhere, and often makes the biggest difference of all. Sometimes the best leadership is the kind that no one notices until it's no longer there. Are you willing to be that kind of leader? As always, carry social kindness with you everywhere you go. The world needs you and your positive mindset. Thank you so much for listening.